Welcome to CPG Vibes. No scripts,
just chat.
I'm Alex Baer.
And I'm Wade Yenny.
Each episode is recorded live, and we talk all things food and beverage, and so much more.
Feel our vibe and search for CPG Vibes on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and make sure to give us a 5-star review.
If you'd like to sponsor our show with your product or service, email us at cpgvibes100@gmail.com.
Now, let's vibe. Welcome to CPG Vibes. I'm Wade Yenny, and with me is Jake Karl. Jake, how you doing, buddy?
What's up, Wade? Fired up to be here Friday afternoon, obviously in Canada and East Coast. Subbing a little bit for Alex here, but it's always fun speaking with you and getting dirty.
Love it. Love it. Well, we've got a lot to talk about. I'm going to go through the laundry list real quick. As you mentioned, Alex has another commitment today, so he's not with us, but you and I are going to have some fun. So I'm going to go through our sponsors real quick. We have this week's special sponsor is Kiowa, and they are the makers of many good products. One which we're going to be talking about a little bit later is Cognizant. But this episode is powered by Cognizant. Find your focus. Cognizant, an industry-leading nootropic for work, exercise, gaming, or every day. Cognizant is the gold standard for focus, mental energy, and comprehensive brain health. Learn more at cognizant.com. And then we have two ongoing sponsors. We're very appreciative of them. The first one, My Way 3PL. Are you an emerging CPG brand and struggling with finding affordable warehousing and e-commerce services for your pallets of product? Are other 3PL services requiring large volume and charging high rates? My Way 3PL is built to work with small and large brands alike. Whether you're shipping and storing your first single pallet to freighting and storing multiple truckloads, My Way 3PL can service companies at all growth stages. They have a network of 13 distribution centers for ambient storage across the country, from Southern California to Texas to the Midwest and many more regions. My Way 3PL's logistics solutions were born from seeing all the pain points CPG brands go through with other logistic providers. With a solid foundation of proven results in cost savings and operational enhancement, they offer a true balance of both strategy and execution. Partner with My Way 3PL to streamline your logistics and scale from small to large or from large to even larger. Go to www.myway3pl.com/CPG Vibes for more information. Mention CPG Vibes and store your first pallet for 1 month free at their vast selection of distribution centers across the United States. Again, go to www.myway3pl.com, CPG Vibes, and make sure to mention CPG Vibes for new customer discounts and deals. And then the second ongoing sponsor is RangeMe. RangeMe is the smartest way to get your brand in front of thousands of retailers. Experience always on-brand exposure, exclusive buyer discovery opportunities, and access to proprietary insights, research, and resources. With over 15,000 buyers, RangeMe ensures continuous exposure to retail buyers from top retailers like Target, Albertsons, Whole Foods, Sprouts, Publix, Kroger, Costco, Wegmans, H-E-B, Food Lion, Giant Foods, The Fresh Market, and many more. But that's not all. RangeMe, combined with ECRM category sessions, deliver exclusive live in-person events where you can meet directly with leading national and regional retail buyers for curated face-to-face meetings. Ready to elevate your brand? Visit www.rangeme.com/CPG Vibes to explore membership options and save up to 30%. Act now and secure the premium membership for just $9.99, regularly $13.99, or the Pro subscription for $16.99, regularly $24.99. So huge savings there, up to 30%. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Head to www.rangeme.com/CPG Vibes to unlock these exclusive discounts on RangeMe memberships. For more details, again, visit rangeme.com/CPG Vibes, or you can just scan the handy QR code in the background. So, I need a breath, Jake. How are you, buddy? Let me get a drink of water. Talk for a minute.
Yeah. Oh, that way you crushed that. No, I'm fired up to be here. It's Friday. It's still summer. Just in a, I held a meetup here at a coffee meetup in Montreal to bring people together this morning. Thought it'd be 5 people. It ended up being 40 plus people. It was so fun. there's nothing better than bringing good people together and different industries, different types of careers, and just allow for serendipity. I think the world has lost a bit of that serendipity, and this morning, felt like I got it back a little bit with some people, so it was nice.
Love it, love it. Well, that's great to hear. And as I said, it's been a minute since I have talked. I know you jumped on a while ago. I think it was in my absence. Now you're here in Alex's absence. So tell me, what have you been up to? I know, and it's a little bit belated, but I know you celebrated your first anniversary not too long ago. It's been a busy year for you in Midday Squares. Tell me what you mentioned what you've been up to today, but just in general, Karl's, Midday Squares, what's been going on?
Yeah, so appreciate it. So yeah, I got, we had our wedding anniversary, went on our honeymoon. My wife and I moved south of France, Sud de France, for those who speak French. And it was incredible. It was the first time I took like an actual step back from the business to just recharge and relax and enjoy the present moment with the people I care about, obviously with my wife, and some friends after. But I did that. The business, from a professional side, Midday Squares is in hustle mode, scale mode. We're going to double our business this year, which is super exciting. We became profitable in the last 2 quarters, which is super cool as a CPG company, as many CPG companies, need a tremendous amount of revenue or growth scale to get to that profitability. We managed to do it, and that was a big win because that showed that our manufacturing made sense, the choice of being our own manufacturer. Other than that, we've expanded across a lot of retailers, gaining momentum in stores, and we launched a new flavor, 3 months ago, which is the crunchy peanut flavor, which is kind of like a, crunchier version of our peanut snack. But what I've heard, I'm allergic to it, so what I've heard is actually better. But it's been a wild ride, Wade. Ups and downs. A lot of therapy. I took up hypnotherapy for myself because I had a lot of health anxiety and OCDs that I had to work on. So that was really, really cool experience, and I still do it, and it actually helped so much. Not medical advice here or anything, but it definitely helped me. And yeah, so that's been like my last, like, let's say 6 months since I've spoken to Alex on the podcast.
Excellent. Well, there's a lot to unpack there, and I want to shout out everybody that's watching live and that's going to be listening later. Joe Tarnowski with Range Me ECRM. We got Hugh Curtis. Gavin says congratulations on Starbucks. So tell us about that deal. When did that happen? How did it happen? When does it start? When did it start? What's going on there?
Yeah, so Starbucks is one of my favorite, coffee shops. From scale perspective, they built a brand. If you look back, I read their first book about. It's called Pour Your Heart Into It. I think it was written by Howard Schultz, the founder and chairman at the time, and he talked about the first 10 years of scaling the business, and it was actually fascinating. The core values that it was built on is quite remarkable. They took a commodity, like, Wade, think about it. They took a commodity and a coffee, and they made it feel like something else. They made it like it was a feeling for people. So I've just been a big fan for quite a while of how they built their business and the original core values of how it started. And yeah, we did a partnership with them in Canada, that's it's fire. It's exciting. It's momentous, and I appreciate Gavin for shouting that out, and I love Gavin as well. And I think that when you go into retail as a CPG business, you don't want to always just take all opportunities. And, this is where you got to be careful, especially if you're scaling and you don't have unlimited resources and money. It's exciting to see, big doors, whether it's a food service company, whether it's a massive grocery store, whether it's even an independent that has tremendous amount of scale. You got to be very careful. It's very costly. It's very costly to do business. It's not just put a product on a shelf and expect the seller, put it in the fridge in our case, and expect to sell. It's a ton of management. It's a ton of support. There's a ton of marketing, promo planning. And if you go into these things and you can't take it on because you don't have the resources, it's just going to hurt your brand for a very long time, because you might get delisted if it doesn't sell, and you have all these problems with short selling and, not fulfilling the orders, out of stocks, merchandising problems. So I always tell people, there's a lot of exciting opportunities there. And, sometimes you got to just say no. And this year we've said no to some opportunities that would to others be incredible. And it's not that it's not incredible for us. It's just, it's not the right time. And I think it's a critical conversation, because it's shiny to sometimes say, hey, I'm going to go into this massive retailer with 2,000 stores or 500 stores or 100 stores, 30 stores, whatever it is. And then they get there and they're like, what do we do? And
right.
every week I see another brand struggling with that. So It's just a reminder, choose wisely and choose ones that you have the ability to support and give the love and care to, from both for the buyer, but also for the consumer at the end consumer.
I love that. I love that. And we had a question from Robert Cogan, also a Canadian there. He's asking USA and Canada, or just Canada? Just Canada. And is it in the coolers yet?
Yes.
It is. Okay, good, good. So I want to touch on what you said there, because it's very, very interesting. Since we've last seen each other, which is, it's been a while, too long, by the way. But that's that, we've both been busy. I'm in a new role now. I'm with V Driven, loving it. But so I'm talking with a lot of emerging brands. In my role, I lead business development and brand management for the company. And in my role, I talking to a lot of people who are just getting started. We specialize in pre-revenue up to probably $10-12 million is kind of our strong suit. And oftentimes I'm saying a lot of what you just said. It's that crawl, walk, run mentality, and advising people that one of the worst mistakes. It's I say this time and time again. It's easy to get on the shelf. It's not, but it is. But then it's getting the reorders, or having a supply chain to back it up. And I just talked to someone yesterday or even this morning and said it pretty much verbatim what you just said. It's like, the worst thing you can do is get into one of those larger accounts. You get that PO, you send it out, and then the product either sits there, or it you don't have the stock or the supply chain logistics, what have you, to replenish it. And you're going to get delisted. You're going to piss off buyers. You're going to burn a bridge. So it's better to ease your way into it and maybe even say no or not. Yes, but not now, than to say, yes, let's go, and then fall flat on your face.
Yeah. And it's just like, wait, for me, first of all, congrats on your role, by the way, and the new opportunity. I think
Thank you.
That's awesome. But I think from a standpoint of like brands, emerging or even large scale that have gotten to mid-level or high-level size, I think you got to be able to build proper partnerships. And if you're not going to be able to do it, it's not worth it, because for us, we made the mistake. We did some partnerships where we had no relationship, nothing, and it got lost a little bit. Like the communication got lost. The performance wasn't as good as it should have been, and it just creates a bad taste in everybody's mouth, because there's limited space in the store. It's like football. You got tryouts every single year. There's someone trying to replace your position every year, and it's that competitive. Food and beverage is very competitive. There's limited space, right? But I always say our best partnerships and our best successes, where we see the highest velocities, we see the highest momentum, is where we build strong relationships and we support both financially and with strong communication. And if you cannot do that, be very careful, because you usually get one chance, man. And, or maybe a second if you're lucky. But at the end of the day, like I always tell people, they see these big numbers and they're like, oh my God, well, this PO is huge. Got to take it. It's unbelievable. You're right. You sometimes need to say not yet, or, communicate in a very transparent, vulnerable way that it's just not not the right moment. Don't lie to them, but tell them it's not the right moment. And then say that you want to come back to this because you believe in that company, but it's just, you want what's best for everybody, a win-win-win, not a win-loss-loss, right? And we've learned the hard way on that one, but we've also learned that when you have a strong partnership, there's nothing more unstoppable than that.
Right. And I can say firsthand, my role now, everyone knows previously, I've been in executive leadership positions at multiple companies, and I as a buyer, executive leader, whatever you want to call it, right? I might not like the answer of no, from coming from a brand. Usually I'm the guy that's saying no, or my team is, but I will respect it and understand it, and it'll be a lot better than if the reverse is true, where you say yes and then you can't fill. And that's fantastic advice. So Bilal says, how do you know when to say yes? Because you will never be ready until you do it, especially larger accounts.
So forecasting is critical. For us, we put forecasting forward in terms of like, what retailers we need to go into, when we need to go in them, when the reviews are, because reviews are critical. When if you're on the food space or beverage space, you got to understand that it's highly unlikely that you're going to be able to cut in whenever you want, unless you are the superhero of the world or whatever. So you got to follow the review schedules, and different departments, different categories have different reviews. So if you miss it, you miss it. If you don't miss it and you make it, you have your chance to take it, and you got to take it. So for us, we know the reviews, we follow the reviews when we are, and we have, we buy data to understand competing products, similar products, that how they do, how much volume they do, and understanding that, then we could basically say, okay, can we take this retailer on, even if we give it a 10% or 15% more, give or take? Do we have the ability from a capacity standpoint? Do we have the ability from a financial standpoint to support it from a marketing level? And if the answer is no, then we'll delay and we'll have that hard conversation. And sometimes it goes well and sometimes it doesn't, but that's the risk of being in a business. And you'd rather do that than shoot your whole company in the foot and have a complete chaos failure domino effect. And especially being our own manufacturer, Wade, you know this, we got to be very careful. Lean manufacturing capacities are you have to be careful. And again, God forbid you have a recall, or God forbid you have something because you were rushing things or doing something. That would be the worst case scenario. Rather say no than say yes. And I get it. A lot of businesses need capital and they need the money from the sales to come through. But the way I think about it is, if you're playing that game, then that is a danger zone. You shouldn't. That's a short-term thinking. You need to think very long-term on foundation and build on that. And again, build relationships with people. Speak to people like Wade. Go to people like Alex. Call me. I don't care. Well, some of us have relationships with other people. We'll give it to you. But at the end of the day, don't make decisions that are rash and can potentially destroy your business simply by chaos and failure to be able to support.
Awesome. And I want to talk about one of your launches you did, and I'm gonna shamelessly self plug my new role, my company. I made a couple posts this week. So many exciting things going on with V-Driven, and I posted 2 things this week, and I feel it kind of gets lost in the shuffle because, it comes across as a sales pitch, and it kind of is, but it's an opportunity for emerging brands out there right now, and this is going to parlay into you here in a minute, Jake. But we're working with the innovation team at Sprouts on 2 different opportunities right now. We're going to be hosting or kind of helping support 2 pitch slam events coming up next month, so it's going to be turned around real quick. And the first one is centered around the hero ingredient lemon, and then the second one is centered around cognitive health and mood support. So products that boost memory, elevate mood, support cognitive function. These are all both of those are for their foraging program, which is going to be launching in February of next year. And I bring that up, 1, to plug my company, shout out V-Driven, but 2, you launched pretty, I won't say early on. I mean, I know you and I worked together on the at Jimbo's while I was there, and that's where we first connected. And then not long after, I would say probably within 6 months, maybe 8 months or so, you launched at Sprouts. I remember the video you did. It was absolutely, it's still, I get chills thinking about it because I just felt like I was so invested with you and Les and Nick personally, because the relationship we had built and what we had done so far at Jimbo's. And then, it was like 6 months later, I'm seeing this crazy thing going on Instagram. Talk to us, the audience, myself, a little bit about that Sprouts, that how you rolled into Sprouts and where things are now with you, because Sprouts is such an important retailer in this channel, and I think it's so many people are looking at that innovation set and so much of what they're doing. It is no pun intended, so innovative in everything that's going on. Talk to us about your launch there and where you're at now and how that relationship's going.
Okay, yeah. So first of all, yeah, shout out to Wade early on. Jimbo's was one of our first retailers that took a chance on Midday Squares, being a Canadian business and not having that much traction in the US. And Wade believed in that, so we'll never forget that. That's where we met. But you're right. 6 to 8 months after, Sprouts reached out to us, and they wanted to do a large launch, like a nationwide launch. And, for us, we were in one state. We were in California, focused on just California, with you guys. And then at the time, and it was with Air One as well, who was one of our first, I think our first actually. And that's who we needed to support. But then when Sprouts came, it was like a big opportunity, and we were scared but excited. And I'll never forget, they told us we were going to go into like 20 plus states or something. And we were just like, whoa, what do we do? And that was one of those moments where it's like, screw it, let's do it. Again, this is a learning experience. At the time, maybe we could have delayed a little bit, would have been a little better. But we ended up doing a massive campaign to make noise, because we said, you know what, if we're going to launch in 20 plus states, whatever it was, we need people to see our company, our brand. They need to know who Midday Squares is, because otherwise it's going to sit in a refrigerator and potentially not sell. It's going to be on luck, basically a consumer discovering it by chance. So we ended up putting a lot of effort into this campaign video that you're talking about, and it was fun. It was cool. It was different. And it actually got a tremendous amount of views, and it was shared a lot. And it actually impressed the team at Sprouts, who was absolutely phenomenal to work with, still is absolutely phenomenal. And what that video did is it allowed us to have a foot in the door there with a little bit of a little bit more emotion, meaning it wasn't just transactional. It was like, oh, this Midday Squares team's kind of cool. They're weird. They're funky. I want to get to know them. So we started to get to know our buying team there. tremendously. Like, we start to hang out with them, go see them in Phoenix, and we built a very strong relationship that allowed us to learn through their data, through all this stuff, to even understand how our distributors have to work with them to get better. And it didn't launch so epic at the first, 3-4 months, but as we got better with them, we started to become more and more velocity every week. And then we became more of a leader in that category. And now we're so close to the team, from the senior level to the mid-level to the lower level. And we go see them. We show up a lot to go hang out with the team because they have new things going on. They have fun stuff going on. Being part of it is important. A partnership is not one way. It's not just sell on the shelf and that's all. It's like, no, let's build. Let's make it a two-way. Let's make it engaging. Let's make it fun. Let's make it where you guys care. Even though we're a small brand, the large organization will care about us. And Sprouts, like I said, cares a lot about innovation. They take risks on things, even if they're smaller companies. And most importantly, there's a very easy communication with them, which I love because it makes it less formal, more informal. And every emerging brand should reach out or try to get in there and make noise. They watch the noise, they watch social, they're all over it. So that's what I would say. And today we're doing really well. It's been a key account for us in the United States.
That's awesome, and I have I have a question from Bilal I want to get to, but I want to follow up with that real quick. And really, before I do, I want to make sure if you're tuning in for the first time, or tuning in for the first time in a while, or you're a regular, remember we're going to have a prize at the end of the show. It's going to be something we've talked about at some point during the show, so be prepared for that. It's courtesy of our sponsor, Cognizant. So just stay tuned for that. So that being said, Sprouts is kind of like up here, right? They're the 400 stores. It's so on and so forth. So the opposite end of that spectrum, and I want to get to a point because you kind of, that was the upper echelon. But then I think back about our launch at Jimbo's and what we did there, and it was kind of the polar opposite. We're 4 stores in San Diego, in the greater San Diego area. And talk a little bit about what we did there, if you remember, and if not, I'll prod you a little bit, if not. But the reason I bring that up is I want people that are listening, whether you're a brand, whether you're a founder, what have you, that if you can go all in like Jake did and Midday Squares did with Sprouts and do something big, awesome. But there are other ways that you can do it on a smaller scale budget, and I want to talk a little bit about that so we can give both sides of the spectrum.
Well, I think 100% showing up is critical in both situations, whether it's small or large. Showing up for the people that took a chance on you is critical, and that means that's a sign of respect. The second thing we did, I know, is when we came to visit you, we did some sampling. We went to meet some of the store staff on the ground and actually gave them bars and got them excited about it, because the people on the ground in stores are your army of salespeople, meaning if they love your product and they care about your product, they're going to talk about it with people. They are going to buy it, since they're at the store, at the retailer every day almost. And most importantly, they're going to promote it. They're going to help you. They're going to maybe give you a little bit more space, more than the planogram, whether the buying teams like that or not, but they do it because the managers and the store clerks have that power. And then sampling, getting people to try your product is critical, especially if you could do it in a smaller amount of stores. It's less expensive than doing it at 400 Sprout stores. That would be really expensive. But going there in person and doing it, I think, makes a big difference. And, we made a little bit of noise online as well, Wade. We hung out, we made some noise, but it was more raw. It wasn't campaign-esque. It wasn't like big production. It was just to the point and being there. I think that was something, at least I remember from our launch, that was special.
Well, and I'll piggyback on that because I know 2 things we did along with everything you just said, and I'm a big proponent of going out meeting store teams. It's some of your best, most popular posts are with it's one store, right, in Canada with Stuart, right? I mean, so but 2 of the things we did at Jimbo's, you had at Sprouts, you had the big production, you had the extras, you had all this stuff. At Jimbo's, we had our marketing person in front of the store with his cell phone, recording you in front of the Jimbo's, in front of the sign. And we also did a takeover, which may or may not be realistic all the time, but you took over our Instagram account a little bit. So it's kind of like I said, it's a very small budget. Didn't cost a lot of money, but I'm saying this to show that you can, to your point, make noise without spending tons and tons of money.
You don't need, and actually, like, I agree with you. Like, yeah, I remember that. Your marketing staff is phenomenal. She was superstar, and even the takeover, it allowed the consumers of that store to feel like, oh wow, this is a new partner. It's exciting, it's fun, it's different. And go get to know them or go try the product, right? And, even today, some of the bigger accounts we work with, we sometimes do the big campaigns, and sometimes we actually just do raw, very emotional, small campaigns, and they work sometimes the same, or even if not one's, the raw one is, if not better. And the reason why I say that it could be better is because people love authenticity, and wait, our relationship was built on that. My relationship was built on that as well with him. When you're real and you just feel it as a human, you want to be around more real, more genuine, more people that are just not putting on, a mask every single day. And that comes off in partnerships, that comes off in product creation, that comes off in the way you do business. And I think that every business should focus on their authenticity and bring that, because people crave that energy today more than ever before.
Love it. Love it. I want to give a quick plug again for our sponsors. We're going to be bringing on Cognizant a little bit later in the show, but My Way 3PL, the logistics service, great guys. I know them personally. I've visited them in person. Just fantastic solution for your 3PL needs. That's www.myway3pl.com. And Range Me, just again, you can get a substantial discount if you use the code CPG Vibes. Go to www.rangeme.com/CPG Vibes and get a substantial savings on their services. So I want to go to Bilal's question. He had another one for you. And I think, you've talked openly and honestly, very, very forthcoming with, your mental health and, all the things you do to help that. And Bilal, who I love, by the way, I love Bilal, his family, his mother, his brothers, just fantastic family. One last question for you is, what's the best book to read to deal with pressure and positive thinking, momentum, as you always project so well?
Yeah, so I'm going to go, the book's right on my counter. I'm just giving me 1 second. I get it. Hold on.
This is where I tap dance and sing and do all sorts of things till Jake comes back. Boom, there he is. See, that was what, it wasn't even timed. Here he is.
So I'm not done this book, Bilal, and I've only read 60 pages, so it's nothing. But I really feel that this is the one with pressure. It's really powerful. So it's called The Practice of Groundedness, a transformative path to success that feeds, not just crushes, your soul. Brad Stulberg, co-author of Peak Performance. It is a really good book. I don't know the whole book yet, but I really have felt the relatability in there, Wade and Bilal. Bilal's hitting on a really critical point for anyone listening to CPG Vibes right now or after. Starting a business or even in your career, there's so much pressure in life, today, and it's hard to do it. It's just hard. And whatever way people want to put it, they're happy all the time. They're probably not. And when you have all this pressure, on top of just life, so business, professional world, all that stuff, you need to deal with it. You can't just ignore it. And if you ignore it too much, you might burn out, and it's dangerous. It's really dangerous. And I had a burnout last year, and I started to realize that I needed to step back, and I needed to slow down. I needed to actually recharge and actually allow my body to rest, because we as humans are not unstoppable. We do die. We can stop. The body will stop functioning. And it took me a burnout to realize that. But at the end of the day, this book is so relatable to the high pressure stakes from athletes, artists, high-end senior executives, founders, unemployed, that go through all this pressure. And it really talks about how to ground it. And again, I think you should read it. I can't endorse the book fully because I didn't read the full book, but we're in high pressure positions, and getting coached or having mentors or having people around you is critical. And books can be mentors, by the way, or social media from certain people you follow can be a mentor as well. You don't have to be with them physically, but that allows you to get through the journey, to not feel so alone.
Well, and I love that. And I think for me, sometimes it's self-evaluation and self-awareness, right? And I've spoken about this in the past and will continue in the futures, looking in the mirror, taking a deep breath, and just realizing, to your point, that you're human. And you're not made of steel, and your mental health. I think my journey over the last year, if I had one thing, and I talked to someone today who's on their own journey, if I've learned one thing, it's that money isn't everything, and your mental health, you can't put a price on that. So I think my advice to this person I spoke to today was, this person's in a journey and looking for what the next opportunity might be. And I said, you have to look at yourself, what makes you happy. And, and because you can't put a price on that, you can't, so as you look for your next opportunity, what do you want to do, and where's your passion? And don't, if you have or can can take a step back from the money aspect and look at it and say, okay, I'd like to make this much money, but this really, really makes me happy, and put those two side by side, and you can live comfortably over here. This is where you want to be, because the money can only go so far. And if that's your motivation, you're probably going to end up with a burnout pretty quickly. Am I right?
Yeah. Wait, you know what? I was that guy before. I was like, I could do anything. I could ignore pain. I could, I could just keep going. And then I realized that that's impossible. I got injured. I had a mental breakdown, and now I'm back. Like I did a lot of work, a year's worth of work of like therapy, hypnosis, physios, osteo, everything, nutrition, I sleep. I worked on everything, and I realized that our lives are so valuable, actually. And yes, it's a privilege to go through your career or whatever it is, the high pressure, and that's a privilege, and you have to enjoy it. But at the same time, I realized that like if you don't recharge and step back a little bit, you're going to go back through it, and you never know how long your next burnout will be. It could be a day, it could be 2 years, it could be 20 years, it could be your whole lifetime. You can't control how your mind actually, what ends up happening, right? But again, self-awareness, like you said, is critical. It's to be aware, mind-body connection, understand yourself. And the second thing is it's cool to actually be vulnerable. It's hot, it's trendy, it's a good thing. Most people, I notice, are scared to be vulnerable. They're fear of judgment and fear of what people think of them, especially in our industry. And for me, like where I really felt the most amount of freedom was the moment I was I was just transparent, and I was real, and I was like, it's not all going great. It's not perfect. And that took the bricks off my shoulder. I felt a lot lighter, and that allowed me to perform at a way higher peak performance than it was previous. And I would say vulnerability with yourself and vulnerability with others is a superpower that we all should have access to be honest with you.
Great. I know we have one question here from Robert I want to hit you with, and I know we've only got about 5 more minutes because you got to cut out, and we're going to bring in our sponsor, Cognizant. Robert wants to know if you're going to be at the CHFA Toronto next month with a booth or in a broker DSD booth.
Oh yeah, Robert. So I'm coming as a walk. Like I'm going to walk the show, see everybody. Not having a booth, but CHFA is awesome. There's awesome people behind it. And the brands that do go there are awesome. Wade, you got to come one time to Canada and see it out. But it's not the same thing as Expo. It's very different, but it's a lot of fun.
I definitely want to check it out. Robert's been pushing me for that for the longest time. So yeah, and I've heard great things about it. And I definitely will, and it'll give me an excuse to come see you anyway. So I know with you.
I promise, if you do come to Montreal, you have a room here in my home, and that's on recording right now. That you have a full bed ready for you to rock whenever you want.
Love it. Love it. I know we're short on time with you. We got about 5 more minutes with you before we bring on our sponsor and you go off into your weekend and do Jake things. We're talking today. It's August 23rd, 2024. We talked a lot about the history of Midday Squares, where you've been, how you started, the progression thus far. If you had your crystal ball in front of you, Jake, what are the goals, without divulging anything that you can't, obviously, the next 6 to 12 months? What are you working on the team? What's next in your growth stage, and what are you doing to get there?
So the next 12 months, we are trying to double the business. Last fiscal year, we closed it at $20 million. And this year, we're going for anywhere from 30 to 40 million. So that's a double in terms of actual like volume of the company. And we put plan forward for the next 3 years to try to build Midday Squares. Actually, not try. We will build Midday Squares to we like to say 75 to 100 million is the plan that we put forward. And the reason why we have those numbers is because that's just been a goal. Everything that comes with that is the team build out that we're putting forward. It's the partners that we work with, the retailers, some critical partners that we have to bring on, and then the innovation calendar. We put forward an innovation calendar that's one more Midday Squares new flavor that will come next year likely, and then a lot of other cool innovation that's secretive now that we're going to play into. But other than that, we from a non-business standpoint, I think the most critical part of this goals happening or coming true, or manifestation of it coming true, is my partners and I are in what we call the third tour. And the third tour of our business is healing as we do it. So not going to burnout phase, actually enjoying life a little bit more. So, You know what I mean by that is Midday Squares is fun. It's super awesome. We love it. And we're doing crazy cool things and it's inspiring and stuff like that. But we also need to come back and find things that inspire us outside of Midday Squares. So whether that's like, traveling, whether it's a cold plunging, I'm just naming random things, reading. So getting back into that rhythm, because that actually allows you to be stronger within the organization. It allows you to be a stronger individual, right? So that's this next 12-month focus for my partners and I, is all three of us are trying to heal on this tour while growing the business, but really making a conscious effort to heal.
Love it. 2 comments from the audience real quick. I've got one more thing from you, and we got to get you on your way. Bilal says, thank you. I appreciate your insight. I'm always rooting for you and the family, as I know how hard it is to grow in self-manufacturing. Keep climbing, my brother. They don't make him any better than Bilal and his family. And then Richard says, get Crunchy into Costco. That flavor is just terrific. He's a big fan up there in Canada. Richard, rich insights, eye tracking, great stuff. All right, so last question before you take off, Jake. One piece of advice in your journey thus far for people that are starting from square one. They've got an idea. They're coming straight out the farmer's market or straight with this idea that they dreamt about last night. One piece of advice from the jump. What is it?
I think for me is it's okay to change your view or opinion or strategy whenever you want. And what I mean by that is just because you did something 2 years ago doesn't mean that you have to be that same decision that you're going to do today. And if you do that, you're putting yourself in a box and you're blocking that box. And I think that at the beginning of my business, that's what I did. It was like, oh, well, I did that. I can't do it differently this time because that's the way to do it. And it limits you. And it's okay to change. And I think that that's critical.
Love it. Well, listen, Jake, I'm trying to keep you on schedule. I'm your watchdog here. I appreciate you. I love you. It's been forever since I've seen you. I have utmost respect for you as a person and everything you're doing with the company. And as always, if you need anything, how to get a hold of me, just reach out. And appreciate you jumping on in Alex's absence. And thanks so much. Have a great weekend.
Wade, I love you. And please come to Montreal.
I will, brother. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, you.
Take care. See you, buddy. All right, we're going to bring on our special sponsor this week with Cognizant and Kiowa USA, and that is Katie Emerson. Katie, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me. I'm great.
Thank you for sponsoring. Let me get my link up here. I've got I'm telling you, if you try and drive and read at the same time, that's kind of what I'm doing right now. But let me get over here. Katie is with Kiowa USA, and specifically this week, we're talking about Cognizant. And Cognizant, first of all, Katie, tell us a little bit about what you do with the company, and then we'll talk a little bit about Cognizant specifically.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm fairly new to the company. I can't believe it's 8 months now. I joined in January, and I am the Senior Manager of Scientific Affairs. What that means is basically I help with claim substantiation. I'm a research scientist, so I get to run human clinical trials, which is actually a lot of fun. So if you have like a hutch, an idea in mind, or I guess a scientific hypothesis, you should say, I get to actually play that out with clinical research organizations and take our ingredient and see what it can do. And then with our fun marketing and sales team, we get to put that in an application and give it to the general public and tell them all about the wonderful benefits of branded ingredients. So I love my job. It's a lot of fun.
That's fantastic. So speaking of ingredients, the ingredient that we're talking about this week, and you have several ingredients, and I'll put the link up to the company website as well, but Cognizant is the ingredient we're talking about. So tell us about Cognizant and what your experience has been with it thus far, and if you're putting your salesperson hat on, and I know you're not in sales, but if you're putting your salesperson hat on, why should brands come to you for Cognizant, and how would it benefit them?
Yeah, I try to wear a sales hat. Sometimes I can pull it off, and sometimes I become too sciencey. I joke. I put the RD because I'm a registered dietitian and nerd, so I can really nerd out on the science. But I promise I will try not to do that, so I don't lose anybody. But Cognizant is actually one of the cooler nootropics I think out there, and it really has to do with the scientific backing that it has. It's been on the market for 20 years, but it's been researched for over 30 years. Kieran Holdings, the parent company, the way that they approach science with these ingredients is all about scientific exploration and discovery. So it all comes from a place of creative innovation of what does this ingredient do? How can it be beneficial for us? And then at Kiowa, we take that ingredient and some of their groundbreaking science, and we go, well, how can we use this in a dietary supplement market? And so I think what's so cool about Cognizin, acetylcholine, is the way that it works in the brain. It doesn't just do one thing. It's super comprehensive, whereas other nootropics on the market, not to name any, are wonderful and have good science, but sometimes they're limiting in what they can do. And so with Cognizin, it's great that it works on neurotransmitters. It helps work on the mitochondria. So we're getting that mental energy boost that we need to help us keep us going through the day. Like I know you're on Eastern time, so am I. So it's 3:00, 4:00 rolls around, we're kind of done for the day. So being able to take something that's going to give me a mental boost, that's not caffeine, that's not going to give me any jitters or heart rate increase or blood pressure increase. It's really important to keep me on task. So the research is cool. We're going to continue to do research. I've already got some studies in the pipeline, which is really fun. So stay tuned for that. But I think also it's the application. It doesn't just go in a powder. It can go in a beverage. It can go in a lollipop. It can go in gummies. Mosh is the first protein bar being launched with Cognizin. So I just got a box. It's on my kitchen counter. I can't wait to try those. So, I mean, was that science?
No, you nailed it. You nailed it. You nailed it. And actually, it kind of segued into the next question I was going to ask you is some products that maybe are currently using, and I'm assuming you can share this. If you can't, then don't. But I'm assuming you can. Some products that are currently using Cognizin and what applications, how are they using it?
Yeah. So originally, it's always been like powders, right? Scoops, sachets, stick packs, which don't get me wrong, I love those. Those are great for the gym bag, and they're super easy. But you have to have a water bottle or a shaker bottle. So now, like, I keep these on my desk. Like I have the Ollie Pops. It's Ollie lollipops, and my kids keep coming in here and stealing them throughout the day. And I know they're targeted to kids. It's like focus buddies, but I mean, in the middle of the day, I'll take one, and it keeps me, on task. But there's gummies. There's Let Me Focus is the Kardashian brand. There's I have this one too, is the Goalie gummies. These have matcha in it. Actually taste really good. And then in my back fridge, I've got a bunch of beverages. I've got Bum Energy, Don't Quit Energy. I just bought a case of Karma water, so it's a little bit lighter. I mean, there's I think it's in over 200 products. So
wow,
whatever you want, you can find it. So it's pretty cool.
Excellent. And I know, again, we're going to be giving away something here at the end of the show from Kiowa and Cognizin, and I'm pretty sure some of the things Katie just mentioned are going to be included with that, so stay tuned. So you mentioned, and I don't know, I'm going to try, I'll probably butcher what you said, but you mentioned human trials, is that right? Or human
clinical trials, yeah.
Thank you. I left out the clinical word, but when I think of that, I think of like World War II, some kind of shock waves or something going on, or So tell us a little bit about that and that trial process. Like how do you do your research or your trials, if you will?
Yeah. So it always starts with an idea. Typically, it comes from a salesperson saying, "Hey, I want this company wants this," or the marketing team says, "I want to be able to say X, Y, Z," and we go, "Okay, well if we have the data now, great. If not, let's try and get it." And so it starts on a preclinical level, whether that's like in vitro studies, or, cellular studies, looking at it on a genetic level, which we've been doing. And that's actually coming out soon. Super cool science. A little over my head, so it's a little bit of a learning curve. But then we take that and we put it in a human research platform. So you use CROs, and then you come up with a study design protocol. And I mean, you get to kind of do what you want. Like, so if I say, "Hey, do you game, by the way? Do you do video games or anything?"
I'm not ashamed to admit that I still do, mostly sports games. Yes, I do. Yes.
Yes. With my kids.
Yeah.
We'll do like Mario Kart. And sadly, I used to be really good in high school. Now my kids beat me, and I'm really ashamed of it. But so say you're doing a gamer study, right? And you want to kind of track their performance, or you want to track cognitive function. You would give them a test before, and then you kind of let them play a video game, and then you give them the test later. Or you could track their performance on, say, like a Tetris game and see, does this ingredient acutely or even chronically over time make them better. And where does it make them better? Does it affect their focus? Does it give them better accuracy by making less errors? Does it help with memory, short-term working memory, things like that? So there's a lot you can do. You can, like you said, you could put like an EKG machine on and like watch the brain waves. You could throw them on a treadmill, give them a stress test. There's so much you can do. It's a lot of fun.
That's fascinating. I geek out on that all day long. I was going to say that's just for me. And I'm not a scientist. I'm far from it. But I know we're close on time. One, if you want to give a quick plug, I have my standard one that I'm going to do for you. But again, about Kiowa, Cognizant, real quick before we go into our giveaway, real quick, and also the best way for someone to contact, whether it's yourself or someone on your team. If you could go into that for us.
Sure. So the best way to contact us, you can go to cognizant.com. You can go to my LinkedIn page. You can go to the Cognizant LinkedIn page, or even Kiowa. Kiowa has its own website and LinkedIn. So there's plenty of ways that you can get a hold of us. We're on social media, Instagram, TikTok. I don't think we're on Facebook. Probably not. But yeah, there's lots of ways. But so I think the final thing I would like to say about Cognizant is, we joke all the time on the marketing team, but it's true. If you want to be in the brain health space, you have to have Cognizant. And you have to have it because it's science-based, it's clinically studied and researched. We have ongoing support, whether it's from research or marketing team. They love to help. If a company or a customer says, I want to say this about our product, we help. We don't just give you our ingredient and hit the road. Like we work with you. We're a team, and we want to see you from launch date to expanding your product, and helping you get in those big box stores. So this is why branded ingredients are so important. We spend years of research, we secure patents, we create claims for you, we work with you. And I think we're very transparent. Everything that we do is on our website. We stay in touch with you. So I think if you're looking for a quality, trusted, well-researched ingredient that's going to boost your product to the next level, Cognizant is it.
I love it. That's fantastic.
Salesperson.
I was going to say, if this clinical thing doesn't work out for you, I think you can go into the marketing or sales side. You nailed it. So I'm going to touch real quick again on our sponsors, our ongoing sponsors, My Way 3PL. Before I say that, let me try and put my link up here again. I'm telling you, this is like driving with your eyes closed. I've got it here somewhere. Let me get it. We've got My Way 3PL. I'm going to put that in the chat here real quick, and then we're going to get into our giveaway. There's My Way 3PL. We've got Range Me. I'm going to put that in the chat as well. And please, guys, if you would, if it makes sense for you and your business, check out both of those. My Way 3PL is a fantastic 3PL service for you. And if you mention CPG Vibes, you get to store your first pallet for 1 month free. I encourage you. It doesn't cost anything to reach out to them. They're fantastic, real people, and have a conversation with them. See if it makes sense for your business. Range Me is no secret. What they do, along with ECRM, connects you with thousands, over 15,000 buyers. If you use our code, you go to the link that I put in the chat, use CPG Vibes, you'll save up to 30% off a membership. And if you want connections, networking, it's a fantastic way to do it. And then lastly, again, this week's special sponsor is Cognizant. Find your focus. Cognizant's industry-leading nootropic for work, exercise, gaming, or every day. Cognizant is the gold standard for focus, mental energy, and comprehensive brain health. Learn more at cognizant.com. That link's been up in the chat as well. So the prize this week is courtesy of Cognizant and Kiowa. This is just going to be a grab bag of goodies, right? It's going to be a hoodie. It's going to be a backpack, gummies, energy water, lollipops, some of the things Katie talked about. So again, those of you that know, we typically ask a question about something we've talked about during the show, and I'm going to go back to myself because it's just me flying solo here. So earlier in the show, I talked about two initiatives that we're running at V-Driven on behalf of Sprouts. And ideally, I'd like to see you name both of what those initiatives are for the innovation program that's going to be launching in February of 2025. If you could put them in the chat, and if it goes too long, I'll take one, but let's see what happens. So while I'm waiting for that to come up, Katie, you've been great. I appreciate you. I appreciate Kiowa sponsoring us this week. we do this, and I'm just really killing time, Katie. I'm just going to be honest with you. So tell us, what do you have going on this weekend? Anything going on in your life or your world? What are your plans for the weekend?
Well, I just got back from Italy. I was
Nice.
there for 2 weeks, and I'm still adjusting to the time change. But funny enough, between caffeine and cognizant, it's kind of helping me get through my work week and all the emails. But yeah, no, I just looking forward to hanging out with my kids and not traveling. How about you?
So was that work related or was it personal?
Oh, no, no,
personal.
No,
so where did you go? Where did you go in Italy?
Oh my gosh, I went everywhere. I went to Rome, and then we got on a 10-day cruise. We did Naples, Sicily. We went to Pisa. I went to a winery in Tuscany.
Amazing.
And, Greece. Greece was gorgeous. If I could tell anyone to go anywhere, go to Mykonos and Santorini, Greece. It is. I might move there.
Love it. Yeah, so before COVID, I was fortunate enough to go. It was a work trip, but I was able to take some personal time as well. And my wife and I got to go, and it was for a food show, and we did Parma, and we took a day trip over to Venice and got to do that. It was fantastic, just amazing. So I love that. So I've got a friend coming in for the weekend from Ohio, so I'm looking forward to, as soon as I hit end stream, I'm going to go hook up with him and see what he's been up to. And yeah, that's about it. So Hugh Curtis got one of the answers, and Hugh, you are the man. You're going to get that. So Hugh, email cpgvibes100@gmail.com to claim that prize. And then beyond that, I need to go just some regular laundry list things that we do. If you like the show, I encourage you to go to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review. It costs nothing. It takes 2 seconds. Literally search for CPG Vibes on Apple Podcasts and just hit the 5-star button. I think last I checked, we were at $2.99. And so we'd love to get to 300. Even if you take your kid's phone and do it, your neighbor's phone, your spouse, your significant other, your parents, I don't care. Take their phone, go to Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars. We'd really appreciate it. You can find the show here on LinkedIn, connect with myself, connect with Alex, connect with the show, YouTube. We have a Slack channel, all those good things. You can find us there. And I think I hit everything. I probably left something out, but that'll give Alex a good reason to come back. Katie, thanks again for for sponsoring us. Great to meet you, and look forward to hearing what you're up to with Cognizant and all your good things at Kio USA. And thanks so much. We'll see you guys next week, same time. Have a good week.
Good weekend.